Saraswat Seva Ashram, the feet of Guru Gauranga Gandharva Giridharichu, with Adi Keshava Prabhu, Madhumita Didi. We are going to continue with our reading of Chaitanya Charitamrta. So we are in the Adi Lila, chapter 1, verse 94. Krishna Bhaktir Badak Jata Shubha Shubha Karma Sehoyaka Jiva Rakyantamo Dharma. All kinds of activities, both auspicious and inauspicious, that are detrimental to the discharge of transcendental loving service to Lord Sri Krishna, are actions of the darkness of ignorance. Jahar prasade tamo hoy nash, tamo nasha kori kore tatve prakash. By the grace of Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda, this darkness of ignorance is removed, and the truth is brought to light. Tattvavastu Krishna, Krishna Bhakti Prema Rup, Nam Sankirtan Sabhananda Swarup. The absolute truth is Sri Krishna, and loving devotion to Sri Krishna, exhibited in pure love, is achieved through congregational chanting of the holy name, which is the essence of all bliss. Surya Chandra Bahirder Tamase Vinashe Bahir Vastu Gata Patadi Se Prakashe. The sun and moon dissipate the darkness of the external world and thus reveal external material objects like pots and plates. Dui Bhai Hridaye Kshali Andakar Dui Bhagavata Sange Karan Sakshatkar. But these two brothers, Lord Nityananda and Lord Chaitanya, dissipate the darkness of the inner core of the heart, and thus they help one to meet the two kinds of Bhagavats, persons or things in relationship with the personality of Godhead. Eka Bhagavat Bodho Bhagavata Shastra Aro Bhagavata Bhakta Bhakti Rasa Patra. One of the Bhagavats is the great scripture Srimad Bhagavatam, and the other is the pure devotee absorbed in the mellows of loving devotion. Dui Bhagavad Dvara Diya Bhakti Das Taha Hridoyetar Preme Hoy Vash. Through the actions of these two Bhagavats, the Lord instills the mellows of transcendental loving service into the heart of a living being. And thus the Lord, in the heart of his devotee, comes under the control of the devotee's love. Ekadbhut samakale dohar prakash, aradbhut chitta guha tamakodenash. The first wonder is that both brothers appear simultaneously, and the other is that they illuminate the innermost depths of the heart. Echanja Surya Dui Param Sadoy Jagate Bhagya Gore Korila Udoy. These two, the sun and moon, are very kind to the people of the world. Thus, for the good fortune of all, they have appeared on the horizon of Bengal. Se Dui Prabhur Kori Charana Vandan Jaha hoite vignana shabishta puran. Let us therefore worship the holy feet of these two lords. Thus one can be rid of all difficulties on the path of self-realization. Edui shloke koilo mangal vandan, jitya shloke arta shuno sarvajan. I have invoked the benediction of the Lord with these two verses. Now please hear attentively the purport of the third. Vaktavya bahulya granta vishtare dore, vishtare navarni sararta kohi alpakare. I purposely avoid extensive description for fear of increasing the bulk of this book. I shall describe the essence as concisely as possible. Mitam cha sadam cha vachohi vagmita iti Essential truth spoken concisely is true eloquence. Shunile kandibe chitte agyanadi dosh, Krishna gada prema hobe paibe santosh. Simply hearing submissively will free one's heart from all the faults of ignorance, and thus one will achieve deep love for Krishna. This is the path of peace. Shri Chaitanya Nityananda Advaita Mahatva Tar Bhakta Bhaktinam Premarasa Tattva Bina Bina Likyachi Koriya Vichar Shunile Jani Besa Vastu Tattvasar. If one patiently hears about the glories of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Sri Nityananda Prabhu, and Sri Advaita Prabhu, and their devotees, devotional activities, names, fame, and the mellows of their transcendental loving exchanges, one will learn the essence of the absolute truth. Therefore I have described these in Chaitanya Charitamrta with logic and discrimination. Shri Rupa Raghunath Bade Jarash Chaitanya Charitamrta Kohe Krishna Das, praying at the lotus feet of Shri Rup and Shri Raghunath, always desiring their mercy. I, Krishna Das, narrate Shri Chaitanya Charitamrta, following in their footsteps. So we've just completed chapter 1 of the Adi Lila. So it's a very, very important point here. Simply hearing submissively, even if we don't understand. Simply hearing with faith, with affection, with service mentality, with humility, surrender. These are the real qualities. And then we can get everything through that. Because this is a substance which is transcending our mental plane, the plane of our intellect. So it will happen beyond our understanding, actually. Of course, we will use our intellect up to a point. Our intellect will bring us to the understanding that our intellect is useless. We can use our intellect in that way, to a certain point, and then we have to know when to throw it away. Like you were saying, Radhikeshwar was saying yesterday, like, this is the best thing, like, you look at so many philosophies, or so much poetry, literature, you can see by comparison, this is so much superior, right? And then, once you have understood with your intellect that this is superior, then you can throw away your intellect.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll go on to chapter 2 here, of the Adi Lila. Shri Chaitanya Prabhum Vande Balopi Yada Nugrahat Tadenana Matagraha Vyaptam Siddhanta Sagaram. I offer my obeisances to Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, by whose mercy even an ignorant child can swim across the ocean of conclusive truth, which is full of the crocodiles of various theories. By whose mercy even an ignorant child can swim across the ocean of conclusive truth, which is full of the crocodiles of various theories. This is the real danger, the real threat, right? Those things which are disturbing our faith, which are taking our faith away from Guru Gauranga, Shri Radha Krishna. These are real threats, these are crocodiles coming to attack us. So Gorkishore Das Babaji, he prefers to live in a public toilet. That feels more clean and more safe, than to live in hearing everybody's ideas and everybody's thoughts and everybody's misconceived conceptions.
And bully.
What?
Bully.
Uh-huh.
A lot of people use bully, attacking.
Krishna Kirtana Gana Nartana Kala Patujani Brajita Sadbhakta Vali Hamsa Chakra Madhupasheni Viharaspadam Karna Nandi Kala Dvanir Vahatu Me Jiva Madhu Pangane Shri Chaitanya Dayani De Tavala Sa Lila Suda Swarduni. O merciful Lord Chaitanya, may the nectarian Ganges waters of your transcendental activities flow on the surface of my desert-like tongue. Wow, it's so beautiful. O my merciful Lord Chaitanya, may the nectarian Ganges waters of your transcendental activities flow on the surface of my desert-like tongue. Beautifying these waters are the lotus flowers of singing, dancing, and loud chanting of Krishna's holy name, which are the pleasure abodes of unalloyed devotees. These devotees are compared to swans, ducks, and bees. The river's flowing produces a melodious sound that gladdens their ears. I'm going to read that again. O my merciful Lord Chaitanya, may the nectarian Ganges waters of your transcendental activities flow on the surface of my desert-like tongue. Beautifying these waters are the lotus flowers of singing, dancing, and loud chanting of Krishna's holy name, which are the pleasure abodes of unalloyed devotees. These devotees are compared to swans, ducks, and bees. The river's flowing produces a melodious sound that gladdens their ears. And you missed the previous verse, you'll appreciate, Dina Bandhu, that the various varieties of misconceptions there compared to crocodiles. They are the crocodiles in this beautiful lake of the Leela of Lord Chaitanya.
The sexes. They are deceiving, deception.
And devouring.
The environment is created by deception, propaganda, and deception to deviate us from the pure nature of humanity.
And it's also true that we need those, right?
Yeah.
It's like in an obstacle course, right?
Yeah.
We have to get through it. Our faith has to be strong enough, right? That we can overcome, that we can understand, this is not what I want. This is not the real thing. So we also need those
like
things.
the leaves of the tree exist to breathe, but we have to put water in the roots and not pay attention too much to the leaves.
Right.
But they exist together.
Right.
They all exist together.
Right. They all have their place.
Yeah.
Jai Jai Shri Chaitanya, Jai Nityananda, Jai Dvaita Chandra, Jai Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Don't need to translate that. Jitya Shlokarta Kori Vivaran, Vastu Nirdasha Rupa Mangala Charan. Let me describe the meaning of the third verse. So going back to the original first 14 verses. It is an auspicious vibration that describes the absolute truth. And this is that verse again. Yadadvaitam brahmopanishadi tad apyasya tanuba yad atman tarjami purusha itiyo syamsha vibhava shadaishvaryai purno yaiha bhagavan sasvayam ayam na chaitanyat krishna jagati paratatvam param iha. What the Upanishads describe as the impersonal Brahman is but the effulgence of his body. Ultimately I find it's like you feel sometimes that this is just a big cosmic joke. Like so many impersonalists, right? They speculate about this great white light, And there are so many varieties of impersonalists, right? Like some of them, they're more like Brahmavadis, a little more innocent. Like they're seeing that as God, but without any form, right? And then there are the Mayavadis, a little more insidious. They think we are also God, right? But so there's different groups, right? So like the Brahmavadis, like Shukadev, the Chatusan, like once they come in contact with Krishna Lila, they're like, oh yeah, cool, great, let's join the party. But the Mayavadis are like holding rigid like this, like no, we are God, this is it, But anyway, there's so much speculation in the Veda, and there's so much like this kind of like, it's very vague, Like someone told me they met this one big scholar in Varanasi, right? And Varanasi is like the Mayavad capital. And this is a guy, like he leads a school where he trains students in the Vedas. And so this one devotee had a conversation with him. So like, what's your conception of the absolute? Like what like, do you believe there's something beyond the Brahman? And he's like, we don't know. It's a mystery. Nobody knows. And he's this big scholar, the Vedas. Like, we don't know. So it's like this big mystery, and there's so many yogis and jnanis and tapasvis, right? They go through so much austerity and meditation and study, to enter into this Brahma Jyoti and this great light, this Brahman, But it's just Krishna's halo. It's just the light coming from his body. Like, don't get stuck on that. There's a lot more. I really like one line that Gurudev used to quote. I think it's somewhere in the Upanishads. Jyotir Bhyantaredupam Atulam Shama Sundaram, saying that beyond that great white light, you will find the beautiful dark Lord, Krishna, that beautiful black Lord, Krishna. The Jyoti, right? Jyoti's light. Abhyantare, like beyond that, within that, this Atulam, this incomparable Shama Sundar, right? This beautiful blackish Lord, Shama Sundar. Don't get stuck there.
Part of that also, you say consciousness is continuous expanding. It's expansion all the time. So it's renew it, and growing and growing and grow and renew ad infinitum.
Okay. So what the Upanishads describe as the impersonal Brahman is but the effulgence of his body. And the Lord known as the Supersoul, the Paramatma, is but his localized plenary portion. He is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna himself, full with 6 opulences. He is the absolute truth, and no other truth is greater than or equal to him. So this is giving proper perspective here. Brahmatma Bhagavan Hanuvadatin Anga Prabhamsha Swaruptin Videyachin. Impersonal Brahman, localized Paramatma, and the personality of Godhead are 3 subjects, and the glowing effulgence, the partial manifestation, and the original form are their 3 respective predicates. So, saying that these subjects, right, Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan, these are the subjects, and then the 3 predicates or descriptions are glowing effulgence, that describes Brahman, partial manifestation describes Paramatma, and original forms describing Bhagavan. So I think the reason Kaviraj Goswami is doing this is because the thing with Sanskrit is that it's so broad, right? So you could reorganize this verse, right? You could say the Brahman is the original form, right? You could because the grammar is, there's space within the grammar to interpret it, right, in these different ways. So Kaviraj Goswami is saying like the subject, and this is the description corresponding to this subject, like that. And where is this verse from? I think it's somewhere in the Upanishads. It was mentioned earlier, but not here. Anyway, so we'll continue. Anuvadage pache videyastapan se artha kohishuno shastra vivaran. A predicate always follows its subject. You know. So if you say Adi Keshava Prabhu is a devotee, right? Then Adi Keshava is the subject, and devotee is the predicate. You know? So predicate always follows its subject. Now I shall explain the meaning of this verse according to the revealed scriptures. Swayam Bhagavan Krishna Vishnu Pada Tattva Purna Jnana Purnananda Parama Mahatva. Krishna, the original form of the personality of Godhead, is the summum bonum of the all-pervading Vishnu. He is all perfect knowledge and all perfect bliss. He is the supreme transcendence. Nanda Sutta Bali Jare Bhagavate Gai Se Krishna Avatirna Chaitanya Gosai. He whom Srimad Bhagavatam describes as the son of Nanda Maharaj has descended to earth as Lord Chaitanya. Prakash Visheshete Ho Doretin Nam Brahma Paramatma Swayam Bhagavam. In terms of his various manifestations, he is known in three features, called the impersonal Brahman, the localized Paramatma, and the original personality of Godhead. Now this is a famous verse here. Vedanti tat from Bhagavatam. Vedanti tat tat tattva vidas tattvam yaj jnanam advayam brahmeti paramadmeti bhagavan iti shabdyate. Learned transcendentalists who know the absolute truth say that it is non-dual knowledge. And it is called impersonal Brahman, localized Paramatma, and the personality of Godhead. So the absolute truth is one, Advaya Gyan, Tattva, but it appears in these three different phases of Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan. Tahange Shuddha Kiran Mandal, Upanishata Kohetare Brahma Sunirmal. What the Upanishads call the transcendental, impersonal Brahman is the realm of the glowing effulgence of the same Supreme Person. Charma chakshe deke jaiche soya nirvishesh Gyanamarge loitenade Krishna vishesh. As with the naked eye, one cannot know the sun except as glowing substance. Merely by philosophical speculation, one cannot understand Lord Krishna's transcendental varieties. It's very nice. As with the naked eye, one cannot know the sun, right? Our eyes will burn if we try to look too deeply into the sun, right? And so, by philosophical speculation, one cannot understand Lord Krishna's transcendental varieties, his vishesh, his variegated nature, his qualities. And now this is famous verse from Brahma Samhita. Yasya prabha prabhavato jagad anda koti kotishva shesha vasudadi vibhuti binam tad brahma nishkalam anantam shesha bhutam govindam adi purusham tamaham bhajami. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, who is endowed with great power. The glowing effulgence of his transcendental form is the impersonal Brahman, which is absolute, complete, and unlimited, and which displays the varieties of countless planets with their different opulences in millions and millions of universes. So Brahma Samhita is so helpful, you know. One of my friends, Isha Bandipur in Australia, he said it, made a comment I really appreciate. He said Brahma Samhita is Mahaprabhu's editorial on the Vedas. Like Brahma Samhita is giving proper adjustments to everything, right? You know, who is Brahma, who is Vishnu, who is Shiva, who is Ganesh, you know, what is the Brahman, who is Lakshmi? Like everything is put into its proper place. Everyone is put into their proper place. So in this verse, it's very clear, you know, the Brahman is Krishna's effulgence, you know, and it is encompassing, you know, everything.
Where did they find the Brahma Samhita?
Mahaprabhu, is this a test question for me? He's testing me. Okay, I know the answer. Does anyone else want to have a go?
It has to do a lot with my name.
That's right. It was the Adi Keshava temple, wasn't it? Yeah, in South India. That's right. I forgot the name of the temple. That's right. It was the Adi Keshava temple. Yeah. And I have a question for you. What was the other book that he found there? He found 2 books there.
I don't know.
No, but maybe the Krishna Karnamrita he found in a different temple. Maybe. Maybe you're off the hook. He found that trip to South India, he found 2 books, the Brahma Samhita and the Krishna Karnamrita also. But maybe they were from different places in South India, I'm not sure. But now I'll always remember it was the Adi Keshava temple that he found Brahma Samhita.
It has to do with the adjustment, the scriptures of the Vedas.
And some people, they say, some scholars, they say, oh, you know, this Brahma Samhita, it's like so perfectly supporting Mahaprabhu's conception. We suspect that actually he wrote it himself. You know? And also, but then Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he harmonized this. He says, well, even if Mahaprabhu did write it, that's even better, you know, like, that's much better. We hope.
From the source.
Right. So yeah. And Mahaprabhu was so happy, and he had it copied out, you know, when he saw that. Koti koti brahmande je brahme vibhuti se brahma govinde hoy anga kanti. The opulences of the impersonal Brahman spread throughout the millions and millions of universes. That Brahman is but the bodily effulgence of Govinda. Se Govinda bhajyami teho mora pati taha prasade mor hoy shishti shakti. I, Brahma, this is Lord Brahma speaking. Oh, so he's paraphrasing the Brahma Samhita verse. I, Brahma, worship Govinda. He is my Lord. Only by his grace am I empowered to create the universe. Now we have another quotation. This is from Bhagavatam. Munayo vata vasana shamana urdva mantina brahmakyam dhamate yanti shanta sannyasino malaha. Naked saints and sannyasis who undergo severe physical penances, who can raise the semina to the brain, and who are completely equipoised in Brahman, can live in the realm known as Brahmalok. So it gets a little confusing, but this Brahmalok is referring to Satya Loka, Lord Brahma's abode, not the Brahman. So Satyalok, the highest plane in this material realm. Atmanta jami jade yoga shastre koe seho govinderamsha vibhuti jehoe. He who is described in the Yoga Shastras as the indwelling supersoul, Atma Antarjami, is also a plenary portion of Govinda's personal expansion. So that the Paramatma is an expansion of an expansion. Because, you know, the yogis, they they fixate on Paramatma, right? So they, that's like the object of their yoga practice, to have revelation of Paramatma. So here, Kaviraj Goswami is kind of like laying it out for them. That Paramatma, he's actually an expansion of the original form.
But aren't all the expansions non-different?
There is a difference and a non-difference, right?
Different by function?
Well, also difference by rasa.
But Vishnu Tattva is all Vishnu, isn't it? There's no rasa with Vishnu Tattva.
Yeah, there is some rasa in Vishnu, but you've actually there's an important verse which answers your question, which is saying that it is an offense to consider Krishna and Vishnu to be different. However, so they're non-different. However, in terms of rasa, Krishna is superior.
Oh, right. I thought we were just talking about Vishnu Tattva. Naturally, there's a difference between Vishnu and Krishna, but I mean, from the
within Vishnu Tattva.
Yeah, within Vishnu Tattva.
Well, Vishnu has more rasa than Paramatma. Because there's no relationship possible with Paramatma is even I don't want to say just because it's very offensive.
Well, Paramatma, as Kalana Daksha Vishnu, he's in the Yoga Nidra, and the Yoga Nidra is Lakshmi Devi. So he's in a hidden rasa. The Yoga Nidra is Lakshmi Devi.
It's true. The Kshirodakashayi Vishnu also appears in that. But Paramatma and Kshirodakashayi Vishnu, that's a question.
Yeah, okay, right.
It's a question. Yeah, I've heard that so you have these three Purushas, right? There's the Karanadakashayi Vishnu, and then there's the Garbhodakashayi Vishnu, and then there's the Kshirodakashayi Vishnu, and then what I've heard is that Kshirodakashayi Vishnu also appears as Paramatma. But then the question is, are they, that Paramatma and Kshirodakashayi Vishnu, are they exactly the same? Or maybe not.
Yeah.
Because actually that Paramatma feature is a temporary manifestation. That Paramatma feature, for the liberated soul, has no job there. But then you could also say that because Kshirodakashayi, all the Purushas, they're all acting within the material sphere, right? So, yeah, then we have a question. Yeah. But Srila Sridhar, there's one place where he speaks like kind of like, in a way that only he can speak, and he's saying he speaks about Paramatma in kind of like a dismissive way. Dismissive way.
Oh.
He says the Sadguru is higher than Paramatma. Like to put things in perspective. Which is interesting because Paramatma is an expansion of the Lord Himself. But Sadguru, who's representing Bhagavan Krishna, right? We have more interest there. That's higher actually, a higher manifestation of truth. There's also that comment of Gurudev, Nrsingadev is afraid of Guru Maharaj.
Wow.
But I'm not sure how exactly we got here. What was your original question?
It was just about you were talking about the yogis and those.
Right, the object of their
Paramatma.
meditation
Yeah,
is the
and
Paramatma.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Seems like a perfect elucidation. What you just said. All the things.
Okay. Yeah, the essential, thread is rasa. The essential point of distinction is rasa, right? That's how our gurus see things. Like, why is Vrindavan Krishna, higher than Vishnu of Vaikuntha? Because Vrindavan Krishna is more developed in rasa, right? This is mentioned in the Upadeshamrita, right? There's no Janma Leela. That's one thing. There's no Janma Leela. There's no birth pastimes in Vaikuntha. That's one example. Something lacking in the rasa. So that is kind of the main point which is used to understand the gradation, amongst.
Oh yeah, it's pretty obvious when you look at it.
But we will very carefully discuss these things. We're like in the mud here, and Paramatma is not so important actually. Like, who the hell are you, man? I have to be a little careful here. I heard Goswami Maharaj tell about one place where one of our acharyas, I can't remember who, maybe it's Vishwanath, because he goes into analysis a lot. He's making some comparison between Mother Jashoda and Devaki, right? And hence he's making some comparison like to indicate Mother Jashoda has a higher position. But then he gets to a certain point and he says, I'm going to stop here because I'm going to make offense, if I go any, I'm going to stop here. So even, these exalted Vaishnavas, they feel that caution. So what to speak of a little pip squeak, like myself. Okay, we'll carry on here. Anantaspatike jaiche eka surya base taiche jive govinde amsha prakashe. As the one sun appears reflected in countless jewels, so Govinda manifests himself as Paramatma in the hearts of all living beings. And now we have famous Bhagavad Gita verse, Atava bahunaitena kimgyatena tavarjuna vishjabhyaham idam kritsnam ekam shena stito jagat. Krishna speaking to Arjuna, this famous verse. What more shall I say to you? I live throughout this cosmic manifestation merely by my single plenary portion. And this is the end of that chapter, right, where Krishna is saying, like, I am the taste of water, I am the strength of the strong, and he's listing through all these things, right? Of mountains, I am the Himalayas, and then at the end he's like, where am I going to end? Like, there's no end. What else can I say to you? Shall I continue elaborating? I maintain all of this with this tiny portion of my original self. So this is referring to Paramatma, right? Ekam Shena, this, like all of this majesty I've just described, all this glory, I'm maintaining this with this like portion of a portion, an expansion of an expansion. To give you some idea. And now we have quotation from Bhagavatam spoken by Bhishma Dev. Tamimam maham bhajam shodira bhajam hridi dishtitam atma kalpitanam pratijisham eva naikadarkam ekam samadigatosmi viduta beda moha. Grandfather Bhishma said, as the one sun appears differently situated to different seers, so also do you, the unborn, appear differently represented as Paramatma in every living being. But when a seer knows himself to be one of your own servitors, no longer does he maintain such duality. Thus I am now able to comprehend your eternal forms, knowing well the Paramatma to be only your plenary portion. I'm going to read this purport because I didn't completely understand that. This verse from Bhagavatam, spoken by Bhishma Dev when he was lying on a bed of arrows at the last stage of his life, Arjuna, Krishna, and numberless friends, admirers, relatives, and sages had gathered on the scene as Maharaj Yudhisthira took moral and religious instructions from the dying Bhishma. Just as the final moment arrived for him, Bhishma spoke this verse whilst looking at Lord Krishna. Just as the one sun is the object of vision for many different persons, so the one partial representation of Lord Krishna, who lives in the heart of every living entity as Paramatma, is a variously perceived object. One who comes intimately in touch with Lord Krishna by engaging in his eternal service sees the Supersoul as the localized partial representation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Okay. Bhishma knew the Supersoul to be a partial expansion of Lord Krishna, whom he understood to be the Supreme, Unborn, Transcendental Form. All right. Seto Govinda Saksha Chaitanya Gosai Jivanishtarite Aiche Doyalu Adonai. That Govinda personally appears as Chaitanya Gosai. No other Lord is as merciful in delivering the fallen souls. Paravyomete Vaise Narayananam Shadaishwarya Purna Lakshmi Kanta Bhagavan. Lord Narayan, who dominates the transcendental world, is full in 6 opulences. He is the personality of Godhead, the Lord of the Goddess of Fortune. Veda Bhagavat Upanishadagam Purna Tattva Jare Kohe Nahi Jarsam. The personality of Godhead is He who is described as the absolute whole in the Vedas, Bhagavatam, Upanishads, and other transcendental literatures. No one is equal to Him. Bhakti Yoge Bhakta Pai Jahar Darshan Surya Jeno Savigraha Deke Devagan. Through their service, devotees see that personality of Godhead, just as the denizens of heaven see the personality of the sun. So what's that Brahma Samhita verse? The Shama, that, you remember that verse for me? Through their devotion, one sees the Lord. But Vede Sudorlabam Adorlabam Vede Sudorlabam Adorlabam. I can't remember, very famous verse. But saying that the devotees, they have this ointment of love, right, on their eyes. Swami Maharaj Prabhupada, he quoted that a lot. I can't remember right now.
It was Bhakti below Chalain or something. Right? No.
Can't remember. But that through these eyes of love, they can see the Lord. So here also it's saying, through the connection of service, through the connection of devotion, then we can see the Lord. That is the science, right? If someone wants to know the science, this is the science. You have to love God first.
Or just be around those who love Him.
Or just be around those who love Him. Then you can see Him, then you can know Him. Jnana Yoga Margetane Bhaje Je Sab Brahmat Padupe Tade Kode Anubhav. Those who walk the paths of knowledge and yoga worship only Him, for it is Him they perceive as the impersonal Brahman and localized Paramatma. It is getting late. I'll just read 1 or 2 more verses. Upasana Bede Jani Ishvar Mahima Ataiva Soyata Dieta Upama. Thus one may understand the glories of the Lord through different modes of worship, as the example of the sun illustrates. Se Narayan Krishna Sarupa Bed Ekai Vigraha Kintu Akar Vibed. Narayan and Sri Krishna are the same personality of Godhead, but although they are identical, their bodily features are different. Okay, maybe I'll stop. Any final comments, or questions, or announcements? Oh yeah, today is Adivas. Do you want to say anything? Well, it can still be super exciting here. I'm excited.
He's coming back. He's going to do the virtual curriculum. And I think also
Cool.
Goswami Maharaj is also doing it time.
Yeah, I was saying to Dina Bandhu earlier how, traditionally it's always important to honor the day before, So Adivas, is indicating the day before, like the festival starts. And Gurudev actually mentioned that in the scriptures, it's mentioned that it's an offense to not make some type of preparation the day before a special day. So there's meant to be at least some kind of, at least consciously some type of preparation, And then normally in Navadvip, right, we'd be, there would be decorations and all kinds of other preparations taking place, right? So you're entering the consciousness, you're entering that appreciation, that glorification before. So you'll see for all of the major festivals, then the day before is also honor and some preparation or some celebration. So on this day in Navadvip, there would be a special evening program, as I recall, honoring the beginning of the parikrama. Maybe we can actually read that. Do we have a copy of Revealed Truth here?
Yeah,
That it's in the kitchen. That Gurudev's Gurudev has one composition that he wrote, inviting devotees to join the parikrama. Maybe we can read that. It's really, really nice. You'll really like it. You'll love it. Saying you don't have to wander anymore in this vile world. Like now you can wander on the Navadvip Dham parikrama. You don't have to wander anymore in this vile world. Thank you so much, Judy. Mm-hmm. Let's see, there it is. Oh no, I was mixing it up with something else.
It's the one we read last night, right?
That's the one you read last night. It's in Navadvip Dham Mahatmya. Okay, well anyway, we'll read this instead. This is really nice too. And we can read the other one again later. So this is also a really awesome composition from Gurudev. Sarupo Bodhana, Srila Bhakti Sundar Govindadev Goswami Maharaj, awakening the true self. Ami Guru Das Nahi Anya. I am a servant of Guru, nothing else. Ami Kodibo Brahman Choda Bhuvan Sarupe Sabai Kodi Udbodan Hatta Loye Jabo Premer Nishan Dadab Sarup China. I will travel throughout the 14 worlds. So this is so cool. Like this composition is an example of this like healthy arrogance. It's like this spiritual pride, like you see this kind of mood sometimes, like Lalita Saki has that kind of mood, like there's this like spiritual pride, empowered by Guru, right? Like not like it's not about one's own ego, but it's about like by the grace of my Guru, with the power of my Guru, all of this can be done, So this is a nice example of that. I will and then he's emphasizing the sound. I'm a servant of Guru, nothing else. So like, as a servant of Guru, I will do all of this. I will travel throughout the 14 worlds, awakening everyone to their true self. I will go with the banner of divine love in hand and cause everyone to recognize the sign of the true self. Amid chadabo sakale sarva dharma, koribo chorna jnana o karma, rachibo vishal bhakati harmya, guru dasa nahi anya. Guru dasa nahi anya, nothing else. I will induce everyone to abandon all religions. I will demolish the pursuits of liberation and worldly enjoyment. I will construct a grand palace of devotion. I am a servant of Guru, nothing else. Ami bangibo chanda, lagabo danda, vachaler mukha, koribo banda, mityore dori, danibo shanda, nahi kapatata danya. I will break the customs, bemuse everyone, shut the mouths of the garrulous, hold back death, and distribute good fortune to all. I will do so humbly, without deceit. Se Mahabharater Mahana Parva, Jahar Prakashe Hoyeche Karva, Deka Botahar Asima Garva, Kaitave Kodikina. I will show the unlimited glory of he whose manifestation brought the great portion of the Mahabharata to an end and efface all duplicity. Ami Bhajabo Jagate Vijay Danka, Guchabo Sako Dvandva Shanka, Bahabo Vishwe Bhakati Ganga, Tushi Hari Lobi Punya. I will sound the kettle drums of victory throughout the world, dispel all quarrel and fear, and cause the Ganges of pure devotion to flow throughout the universe. Satisfying the Lord in this way, I will attain good fortune. Ami Arya Naryam Lecha Sabai, Lagai Bobole Krishna Sevai, Chadaibo Sobe Golokeranai, Pritvi Koribo Shunya. I will forcibly engage all, the noble, the ignoble, and the barbarous, in Krishna's service. I will board them all in the boats to Goloka and empty the earth. Wow. It's very encouraging, isn't it? Like Gurudev is so resolute in this assertion. It's like, there must be some room for me too there. Ami chalabo sakale, guru pada bole, vadam tulibo, hari bol bole, mahamaya vini, cholana chalile, koribo china bina. I will guide them all by the power of my Guru's feet. I will hoist the boat's sails by the power of chanting Hari. If Mahamaya presents any illusion, I shall cut it asunder. Ami chinmoy dame, chalaibo thari, chatur buja hobe jata nara nari, stavar jangam sobe lobi hari, hobe deva deva manya. I will drive the boat to the spiritual world, and all the men and women will become four-armed. All moving and inert beings will attain Hari and become worshipable to the demigods. Sobe ek parichoye dibe parichoye, lobibe sarup amrita moy, pujibe Shri Hari dibe jai jai, nehari hoibo danya. Everyone, oh dear, call here. Sorry, Lalita Madhava. Everyone will identify with the same identity, realize their immortal self, worship Sri Hari, and call out, Jai, Jai. Seeing this, I will be satisfied. Ami Guru Das Nahi Anya. I am a servant of Guru, nothing else. Wow. Jai Shri Bhakti Sundar Govinda Dev Goswami Maharaj ki jai. Wow. Wow. Prabhu, Hari Bala Prabhu, you lead us. Hari Nam. Jai Shri Navajit Dham. Sachinandana Gaura Hari.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna,
Krishna Krishna Hare Hare.
Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare.
Krishna 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 Hare Hare.
Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare.
Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Rama,
Bhakti Sundar Govinda Dev Goswami Maharaj ki Jai.